You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Well, we have a very special guest with us today. Imagine if you had gotten into crypto, into Bitcoin just 10 short years ago and managed to hold on to some of it. That's always important. You hodled. Imagine where you would be. Well, my next guest, Mark Basa. You find him, he's with an outfit that's a real interesting company called HOKK Finance, HOKK, and you find him at HOKK.finance. And Mark, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. So you are a crypto king, one of those elusive people who basically has dropped out of the workforce and is just living off your crypto winnings. You know, I saw an article that's claimed, okay, I don't know if it's true or not, but claimed that 4% of the US workforce had retired and were basically living off their crypto winnings. And I call it winnings because when you were putting money into it, it wasn't, it was a pure gamble. You might have seen the wisdom to it, but it was a real gamble. I mean, you were a visionary, obviously, but it was a gamble because you didn't know how this thing was going to go.
Well, firstly, thanks so much, Kerry, for having me on the show. And I would say that in terms of crypto being a gamble and where Bitcoin was when my buddies and I discovered it, this was probably 2010, 2011. Yeah. Back then, we joined forces because we wanted to disrupt a centralized system, which was loyalty points. And we got together and we said, hey, if we do this decentralized where merchants can control the way that they issue points to the consumer, we'll actually do something. But we need to do it where you can use loyalty points and fiat currency. And we discovered this thing called Bitcoin. And that's sort of where we started. We built this omni-currency payment gateway. Now, back then, so I'm 33 now, again, probably 10 years ago. Back then, as this young guy just trying to make it in the world, we had this vision of what Bitcoin was going to do. And when we pitched to investors, we were pitching to a lot of traditional financial investors, top of their game. I remember I was sitting once in a room of like 5, 6, 7 people, collective net worth, a couple billion. And they're looking at me like Bitcoin, like, what the hell is this? This is rubbish. Like, can it be hacked? Can it do this? Can it do that? And really, we struggled with trying to convince them that this is going to be such an exceptional store of value that it's going to start competing with the US dollar, and people are going to dump their fiat currencies, their government-backed currencies because of inflation. But here's the applicability to it, and there are more currencies going to come. We ended up partnering with the Australian government on an incubator program for promising technology. And that was also in conjunction with Microsoft too. So that was really exciting. 10 years later, my buddies and I, we're now rebuilding that whole thing on Ethereum. The next big thing. You could say Ethereum is Bitcoin is for boomers and Ethereum is for the younger generation.
I would take issue with that. I would say Bitcoin is for millennials and all the other stuff is for Gen Z people.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, that's true.
We have to distinguish here, and you were a visionary in this, and I respect that. But do we really need 25,000 cryptocurrencies, or are we at the point where I would call them, most of them are kleptocurrencies?
Yeah. So there are tens of thousands of currencies. What I would say, there are going to be thousands more until it reaches that point of of development where there's so much innovation. You imagine like the Silicon Valley years, lots of companies fail, but then what came out of that was like Google and everything else. So this is the kind of period where we're in, where there's a lot of experimentation going in blockchain. New chains are coming out, new tokens, new technology, all different ways, which basically solve so many problems that centralization has given the world. So I would say that we don't need lots of currencies, but I believe what will happen is you'll still have those currencies because by nature, I think people are very tribal. It's like a football team, and so people want their currency that they love the best because it's their brand. That's how I think it's going to go. But you'll have a lot of currencies at your fingertips.
But me personally, Mark, I'm agnostic. Mm-hmm. I don't care whether it's Apple or Tesla or Coca-Cola. If I can make money on it, that's all I care about. Do we really need 21,000 or 20? I don't remember the last count. You might know better than I. How many cryptos are there, and how many really are going to serve a function, if you will?
I would say that you're going to have major chains. So if you think about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and other chains that people are going to build decentralized applications on. So Ethereum is really hot right now because of what you can build on it. And many, the world's biggest companies are all building on it. It has a scalability issue right now because so many people are using the network. So it's quite expensive to send money, but people love building on it. And that's the kind of thing where you go, okay, maybe there are 10,000 coins or tokens and they're all on Ethereum. And again, Ethereum is the chain. So it's more that, for example, if you want to pay Microsoft for a service, maybe Microsoft uses Ethereum, but Microsoft has its own coin, as an example. So think about it more that brands themselves will have their own tokens and coins, but maybe only a handful of chains will actually survive in the end.
Okay. So I can buy that. Now, look, when Facebook said they were going to create their own crypto, their own coin, we had a lot of blowback and they wound up not doing it. And I happen to have thought it was a brilliant idea. And I was actually disappointed, even though I have my misgivings about big tech dominating. Which they do, and the abuses that have come along with that dominance. But that really had the potential to shake up the entire world, because they would pay all their vendors in their Facebook coin, and they would receive all their payments in Facebook coin. And I thought it was brilliant. What's your take on it here? Why didn't this happen?
I also agree with you on that. I think that when big tech gets into creating their own coins and tokens, you have to look at what that big tech company is responsible for. So I think it's very scary if Google wants its own token. I think it's also a matter of privacy, and these companies do well because they basically mine and sell data. Decentralization by nature is it's the complete opposite of that. So when you have a currency that can't be tracked or invaded upon, it's your currency. So when Facebook goes to do something like this, a lot of people think it's a fantastic investment because it really would be easy just to send your buddies, money for a restaurant meal that you owe them for, right? Pay for the beers with the boys, send it over Messenger. But the reality is it won't really be like that. It'll probably be more controlled and more regulated than people think.
Correct. Okay, so we're in the Wild West right now, right?
Yeah.
The Wild West, or we're kind of emerging from it. You know that at some point the government is going to stick its nose into the tent. They're already making noises doing that. And something not so necessarily good is going to come out of this, right?
Yeah. So my biggest fear, I guess it's like this. Blockchain is a cure and a disease to the centralized currency that we have today.
Correct.
Your currency that you have, if it's US dollar, what was that? Sorry?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So there is going to, and this is my personal opinion, What I'm concerned of is how power is going to be shifted from centralized banks to blockchain. Power is not just given, it's won and it's taken. You go into battle and you take power. So here's this thing, blockchain. It's decentralized. People for the first time actually, can own their money, can lend out their own money and get a return on decentralized financial protocols, like Aave, for example. I can take my ETH and I can receive USDC, the stable token that reflects the US dollar. Here's the scary thing. Every dollar taken out of centralized banking and put into the blockchain is one less dollar in centralized banking. Now, what do you do? What does the World Bank do? And the Economic Forum and all these places, what do they do when they go, hold on a second, there's 25% of the world's money now in blockchain that we don't control. Are they just going to print more money? Well, you can't just keep printing. You're going to have another Venezuela or some of these other countries that have this crazy inflation where it's $1 million to buy a loaf of bread. What is going to happen? And I think that is the scariest thing about blockchain and decentralization, is that there has to be at some point, it won't be a transition of power. I think it'll be a fall of power. Hey guys, by the way, there's not enough money in the world. We can't print anymore. What's going to happen there? That for me is concerning.
I'm looking forward to that day because, look, as a libertarian, you want competing currencies. You want you basically want this to happen, right? I mean, you want to break the control of these people, a lot of whom don't have your best interest at heart.
No.
Where's the blowback coming? When do they really get scared and say, uh-oh, we got to put a stop to this?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
FPX Nickel is developing the large-scale Dakar Nickel District in central British Columbia. Within the district is FPX Nickel's PEA stage Baptiste nickel deposit, which is projected to be among the world's top 10 largest nickel mines by annual output. The Baptiste deposit has the potential for the lowest quartile operating costs at just $2.74 per pound. And compared to recent global nickel mines, the project requires a low capex. FPX is also commencing its first ever drill program at its Van target in the Dakar Nickel District. Surface samples have indicated that the Van target footprint is larger in scale and 10 to 15% higher in grade than Baptiste. FPX Nickel trades in Canada as FPX and on the OTC under FPOCF. To learn more, go to fpxnickel.com. That's fpxnickel.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
Well, they're already trying. I think I read somewhere that the SEC is hiring like another 800 staff to go after some of these, these kind of fraudulent crypto scamming people. And that's good, right? Like if you're going to be offering these securities and promising all these things, fine. Go after the bad guys. Right now in crypto, that's probably 1% of all people in crypto. Even though there are a lot of them, there are still 99% of good people. I think that the thing is that this technology moves so fast that the bureaucrats and people who work, in government at this level, I don't think they get it. I don't think that they have grasp. Like, for example, I work for HOKK Finance. It's a meme token. And they say, what is a meme token? Now, most people don't know. The younger generations do. But what they don't understand is that we have like over 30,000 community members on Telegram that love the token and support it. And they're waiting for us to launch all these incredible products so they can send and spend their crypto the way they want to. Now, if you're sitting in the bank and you've been there for 25 years and you're trying to create regulation, how can you possibly create regulation if you don't even know what MetaMask is? You have these decentralized wallets that are almost, pretty much untrackable. How can you create regulation around something that you don't know? So you try to blanket ban this, but it's not going to work. It's simply, this is going to take over the world. And that's what they need to understand. But I think they're still kind of holding on like a jealous ex-girlfriend, You let her go and she's still hanging around like, hey, come back. And you're like, no, I'm now in blockchain.
I like your idealism and I like the concept. Let me tell you a little secret here. These people who are the linchpin of the global financial system, and I'm not talking about the names that you actually know, okay?
I know where you're getting at. Yeah.
These people will stop at nothing. All right.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking like every atrocity known to man. And you just have to look at what's happened here recently in the world to understand this without getting into it, because, the powers that be, our tech overlords, don't want any mention of it. But for instance, how many nodes does Bitcoin have now? 10,000? I think about 10,000 was the last I heard.
I mean, if you think about how many nodes are going to come to individual chains in the future, if you're one of these central banking elites, as you mentioned, to use your power to go after anyone running a node, or like, how do you stop this? Like, there's one way you could do it. You could take out the satellites, right? Maybe that will stop.
Take out the nodes. Look, most of the Bitcoin nodes, where are they located, Mark?
I've read all sorts of things about where nodes are being run and how there are foreign entities running nodes, that there are government agencies running nodes. If you dive deep enough on the web, you can find.
I'm sure there are.
These sorts of things.
That's almost a given. But where are the majority of the nodes for Bitcoin? I'm not talking about everything, just Bitcoin. Where are those nodes located?
I actually have no idea.
They're in China. All right.
Yeah.
They're in China. There's no question about it. Just look at the map. All right.
I actually thought that they were. I know that China owns they're actually one of the largest, if not the largest, besides the US government. They own like some of the world's Bitcoin, most of the world's Bitcoin, you can say.
Yeah.
And they're obviously capitalizing on when media comes out about if China's banned Bitcoin or not. But with the node side of thing, then that makes a lot of sense. I would say that it's a fantastic way if you're a foreign entity. If people are dumping the US dollar into Bitcoin, it's a great way to crash that currency. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, that's there's trillions of dollars riding here. This is a process. My point is, if China decides tomorrow to shut down every node in their country, they can do it. All right. Yeah. There's no stopping it. Some of the latter day cryptos, much more difficult because you don't know the location of the nodes and you really can't track them down. But I tend to think that if our tech overlords want to find every single node for every cryptocurrency in the world, they can do it. And then it's just a question of desperation. Desperate people do desperate things, desperate entities. I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I'm not saying you shouldn't buy crypto because it might. I'm just saying this is a risk you need to be aware of. So far, it hasn't come to fruition, which to me is surprising. The reason I think that it hasn't come to fruition, Mark, is because all politicians at every level of society in every country ever known to man are inherently corrupt, and they're out to line their own pockets. And they might talk a nice game, they might talk a great game. The best way ever created for politicians to take a bribe seamlessly is through cryptocurrencies. So you show me a politician, I'll show you a guy who, if he doesn't have a digital wallet now for multiple cryptos, is going to have one in the not too distant future. That the corruption of man, of our political institutions, is actually what's stopping those very institutions from cutting off the lifeline to something that really is kryptonite to their very power.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I always think about when politicians are going on the campaign trail, you have some that are obviously paid for by centralized banking, and you have some that are really trying to say, "Hey, we should look at crypto adoption."
Are paid by somebody, big pharma, big auto, big big China,
American lobbyism. Yeah. There's a lot. It's outstanding. It's outstanding how you can see when you look at the case for crypto and blockchain adoption, for example, and how far behind governments are. And as you said before, it's really about that transition and how they're looking at this and how they're going to benefit themselves. Now, one of the core things here about the adoption itself is that it doesn't matter what the government does. If the government tries to ban it, people will invent new ways on how to get this in their own hands. So I know, like, for example, I haven't lived in Australia. That's where originally I'm from, but I haven't lived in Australia for about 6 years. And just now the banks are starting to turn the tide on, accepting crypto. They want to be more crypto friendly because they actually are missing out on transactions. But what they probably know most of all is that, like, my best friend down under, he's telling me how, hey, can you send me some ETH because I can't buy any anymore. The banks have stopped me. I'm not allowed to buy ETH. And then, it's this whole thing of how are you going to stop this this global movement? You really can't. It's, as I said before, it's moving far too quickly for any regulators to keep up. But also, when they want to come down hard, they will.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, it's going to be a real interesting thing. And it might just become a necessity. I always say, Mark, what are you going to do when possession with intent to distribute Bitcoin is punishable by 10 years in prison?
That's one of the things. Like, when I read forums, I get a lot of info from, searching the web, reading forums on what's happening. You can find a lot of good stuff. And people are posting their wallet IDs, like the wallet address, how much Bitcoin they have, how much ETH they have. If I was a Bitcoin billionaire, maybe I am, maybe I'm not, but if I was, and I don't think I'd be running around posting that and going on shows and doing it. There are very few people that have quite large and powerful institutions that are Bitcoin billionaires, and they've got a lot of security around them, and they've got a lot of things protected. It's probably protected in all sorts of layers that most hackers couldn't get to. But to go online and kind of have an identity. Here's my Reddit URL. Here's my Reddit tagline, and here's my thing. It's crazy to go after, because that's how the government will find you.
It's insane anyway, because if I find that person, not me, but if some evildoer finds that person, puts a gun to their head and says, give me your key, or you're dead. You could give them the key. Because
give them the key.
You're going to give them the key. So multiple wallets are essential. Don't put all your Bitcoin in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, and don't tell anybody. One of the best things about having a safe, Mark, and I wish I had one, is it's only good if nobody knows about it.
Yeah, exactly. But if you've got the blueprints of your safe on your front door, it kind of defeats the purpose. But that's what,
picture with 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 4 numbers to the combination. Yeah. Hey, you made a lot of great points. It was a lot of fun having you on the show here. Tell us how we get involved with HOKK. Not a sponsor of the show. I'm just learning about it, just like you out there. But
sure.
Share with us about HOKK.
Okay, so the first thing you can do, you can go to HOKK.finance and you can read about what we're doing right now. And we're currently building decentralized financial products and services that replicate traditional banking. So sending and spending your crypto the way you want to, whether you want to use NFTs, you want to use Ethereum, you want to use ETH and basically connect to decentralized protocols and earn USDC. We're trying to replicate how people use their main currencies today and give them fun and exciting products with this brand that we have, which is basically a meme token. We're a young company. I think it was launched only in May. I've joined about 4 months ago. It was launched in May last year. We've had an incredible journey. If people want to see what we're doing, you can obviously purchase the token. It's a utility token. It means it gives you access to HOKK, which is our decentralized ecosystem with all the products and services. This month, we're actually launching 3 new products where you'll be able to use your token. And we're looking forward to the future. All
right. Excellent. Well, hey, we really appreciate you coming on. And there's a link to your site in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Hey, one of my predictions for 2022, and people are laughing at it, I mean, it's almost starting to go viral, is any asset you own, you're going to own through an NFT. There's going to be no other form of ownership. And maybe this is what Klaus Schwab was talking about, that you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy to own nothing. You'll be grateful. I don't know, but people laughed. I mean, I've gotten so much feedback over it. People can't even believe it, but I'm telling you, if it's not an NFT, it will be a similar creation, digital creation, where all of your assets will go, because all other forms of ownership, of evidence of ownership, and that's all you have, unless you possess something in your hand. Only other thing you can have is evidence of ownership. All other forms of evidence of ownership are going to go by the wayside here. Blockchain is everything. And that's what I mean when I say NFTs will take over the world. I think the adoption now with art and imaging and stuff like that it's all a shiny new toy, but that's not the principal purpose of an NFT, as it will evolve.
Correct. I solely believe that NFTs are going to start replacing so many things that we use in our everyday lives. And one of the big things is going to be contracts and the replication of a tangible asset on the blockchain. So if I have a loan with you, maybe it won't be paperwork anymore. It'll actually be a loan on the blockchain, but that's the NFT that we regard as the contract that we abide by.
Look, the concept of the paper contract is rapidly dissolving, largely due to the global health concerns and the introduction of digital signatures, DocuSign documents. Now, for a DocuSign document to be absorbed into the blockchain and to become an NFT, I mean, look, I don't know the technology behind it. I'm not capable of doing it. But if I can envision it, there's probably 10,000 people working on it right this moment. Smart contracts, kind of the next iteration of the DocuSign contract, smart escrowing, all these things. We're not going to recognize it. But the biggest problem, and I know we're dragging on here, Mark, is government, because government is still regulating people with PCs and telephones, smartphones. They don't know, they can't see the forest through the trees. But in any event, we'll let you go. If you got a question for Mark, please shoot me an email. I'll get you an answer, kl@kerrylutz.com. Mark, been a pleasure. Talk to you again real soon.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kerry. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.